Okay.
Okay, so when you think of Americans, what do you think of? Like, what? How do you think of Americans?
Free birds.
Free, what?
Free birds.
Free birds. Okay, okay,
I
that's
think in a
interesting.
single term, I would say.
Okay.
Very democratic type and very independent.
Okay.
Very casual, I would say.
Casual. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they are pretty independent. I think that's what I've seen most of the time. I mean, pretty independent. They
Okay.
like their privacy. They allow others' privacy.
They like privacy. Okay.
They like
Okay.
others' privacy also. They
Okay.
respect that.
Okay.
And they're easy to go with.
Okay. So easygoing.
Easygoing. I mean,
Okay.
because
Okay.
I work with Europeans, I work with Americans. I always felt US it's more easy.
More easy than working with Europeans, you think?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Have you ever had any negative experiences with Americans?
Not much, I mean, because
Can you
I
think of
traveled
one?
across, I mean, mostly I was in the West Coast, so
Okay.
West Coast was
That's
more-
right, because you traveled to America.
Yeah.
Yes, plenty. Yes.
So West Coast was pretty easy for me, I mean, because it was life. Because one, we found a lot of our own, I mean, Asians and Indians, and it's a mixed community. It's more cosmo.
Right.
So I didn't find much difficulty. I mean, initially though, I mean, like it was a little contrast because it's not like living here. I mean, slightly more organized, or like it had its own, way of doing things.
Okay.
So you just have to get used to that or know that. I mean,
Sure.
I just get to know that. But then after that, it was pretty easy. It was more easier to do things. I mean, like you can do everything on your own. Like you can.
Okay. So in America, you felt like you could do things on your own, whereas like you said, it was more organized. You felt like it was more organized,
Correct.
and it was more maybe built for independence, like for
Absolutely.
people
Absolutely.
to. Okay.
They can practice their own things. What I've seen across my friends,
Mm-hmm.
the first year when they went from here, they moved to US. They all felt they were missing their home, or they're missing something, and they want
Right.
to come back. And most of them, who went there for a couple of years, they were telling them they're going to come back in another 3 years when the visas are over. They're going to come back and settle down back in India.
Okay.
But none of them came back.
Oh, none of them came back. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. So they must have adapted then.
Yeah, they got, and today I think they're more comfortable, and I meet them whenever I travel there. I meet them, and they feel they're pretty okay with the place, and I
Okay.
also felt they could do a lot more things what they were not doing here. They were
Oh, okay.
practicing the sport or whatever it is. No, I mean they were
Okay.
getting involved in sport. They were getting involved in the extracurricular activities or
In like extracurricular activities
Correct.
and like sports. That's what you're
sports and
okay.
things, and
Okay.
then life
You thought that
also-
was easy. They think that's easier in the United States to do
Yes,
that stuff.
because here one is access to such facilities maybe less. I mean, like okay, this apartment has some things, but
Right.
not everywhere you get that access. I mean, like to do some activities. So sometimes you're living in an independent home that colony doesn't have that kind of facilities.
Okay.
But these
Okay.
days it has changed a lot though. But
Right.
it's far.
Huh.
You just need to do a lot more here.
Right.
Probably in the main cities it's okay, but in the rural it's still difficult. I mean, for the people to practice. So that's I think probably the difference what I found.
Okay. That's cool. That's
yeah.
interesting. Huh.
Because I found them doing a lot of hobbying activities and other things which they don't do here.
Okay. Okay. I never
Yeah.
would have thought of that. That's really
So
interesting.
I know
Okay.
people who tried music. I know people who tried mountain climbing and
Okay.
a whole lot of things. I mean, they would never would have tried here. I mean, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay.
Especially
Okay.
the mountaining and other things. I know they went to Yosemite and they tried
Huh.
climbing up the rocks. I'm sure they would want to try here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I would have never thought of that. So do you think? I mean, okay. So we have more independence, so people can kind of try things like.
Correct.
Without the help of other people, but do you think that's all good, or do you think it's
Yeah. What on? We're 5 minutes. So.
what are the
yeah,
negatives of that?
Okay, so negatives of that it's probably I mean the way of life here is we live in families together.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
We're more attached. We try to live together as much as possible.
So you're more connected.
We're well connected because
Mhm.
we stay with our parents mostly, or most. I mean, yeah, it's changing a bit though. I mean, but if you see in most part of the country, still the parents and children stay together for a long time.
Okay.
Even during the adulthood or whatever it is.
Right, right.
So that's a difference, and
Yes.
sometimes it's good because they get the care or they get the support,
Mhm.
emotional support rather. I mean, like
Absolutely.
mom or dad being with them. They do get pampered, but
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's good and bad.
yeah. But
Yes.
then I think that part of thing, because that's when the kids go through a lot of changes or they need a lot of support.
Oh,
you know,
yes, yeah,
social
definitely.
support. I think that's a bigger part in India. What I've seen as the biggest strength, and specifically, when they stay along with their parents or when they stay along with their family, a lot of social support they get. Specifically when, let's say, when they get married, when they have kids, when they have
Yeah.
family to support them.
Oh,
or those bigger
absolutely.
family.
Oh, yeah, because I do think that's something that's lacking in the
Yeah.
United States, that we are very disconnected from each other.
Exactly.
And I mean, there's positives to it and negatives, but I mean, when we come here, people seem connected, and it's
Exactly.
easier to connect people in a place like India.
Precisely, and
Yeah.
that's the strength of this country. So in all our diversities, so we have like 40 languages to 50 languages. I don't know how many. I mean, 28 or 30 is like the official languages. We have diverse communities.
Yeah, yeah.
Per se, it's not a religion. Hindu is not a religion. It's more a way of life.
Yeah, yes.
So-
Okay, that's what I've
So
read.
I mean, it's pockets of practices of spiritual identity. So you collectively call them Hindu because you cannot identify them independently, right?
Right,
So
right.
everybody have their practice. It's more they live their style or whatever it is. But in the diversity, there's kind of in IT, it's nice. I mean, like sometimes when even though we find a lot of confusion, but within the confusion there is a understanding.
And yeah, and an order of itself. I mean, it's its own order. Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know that this is going to happen or it's not going to happen.
Yes. Okay. Yeah,
and
yeah.
like you know how others are going to behave, or how others are going to conduct, and like you can adapt to that.
Right.
So, one good thing that we've learned in our life is to adapt.
To adapt.
Whatever circumstances, because circumstances are not going to be straight across the country.
Yes.
Across
yes.
the districts where we go, across the colonies we go, it's going to be different.
So even as an Indian, you have to adapt to the differences in
because,
India.
Every community has their own way of life.
Right.
But when they come out, they try to socialize and live in a common style. When they go back home, they try to practice things. But that's a beauty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think that's the difference between probably people living in India, more rooted. They're more
Yes.
rooted. They've always. I mean, if you most of the time, even though people go for long term outside, if you ask them at one point of time, they want to come back and live here.
Absolutely. Yes.
They want to make some
yes.
money and they want to come back. I mean, if you ask them
Yeah,
the
yeah.
objective, they want to make some money. They want to come back.
That makes
have
sense.
a house, stay back here, and
But this is always home.
it's always home.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Very few people I've seen I mean, even then I've seen they come back connected later, at some point of time.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's the beauty of this country.
Okay.
Yeah, it has its own, way of living compared to the rest of the world. I mean,
Right.
So when it could be a surprise when people come over from
Of course.
outside, like, no, how do people?
Well, you would
adjust to
hope it
this?
would be kind of a surprise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if everything was just as you expected it to be, what fun would that be, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I love India. I love it because it is so surprising.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just is so different from
So different. Yeah.
our culture. That's what I like. We laugh so much when we're in India because it's like, it doesn't make sense to us. All of it
Correct.
does not, like the cows. It doesn't, all of it does not make sense, but it makes sense here. And so, I mean,
Exactly.
we're forced over time to look at it and kind of make sense of it, and it does start to in a really
Correct.
weird way.
Absolutely.
So I enjoy that
Perfect. Emily.
part of India. But I have one more question. Okay, so this is a little bit different. So what do you think of America? Like when you think of America as a political system or as say the world police. Of course, Americans are different than America, but what is America's effect on India?
I think on a business front, if you look at it, it's having a very good impact. I mean, like,
A good impact,
very
okay.
good impact because specifically our industry, I mean, the IT or
The
technology
IT industry.
technology industry. I think good thing is we have traditionally I think Indians were good in mathematics or science.
Yes,
I
yes,
think that is continuing.
yes.
And I think that's probably got to do with the way probably the business in IT or technology field took up very well here.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have some good schools,
True.
pretty good schools. I mean,
Mhm.
like, and we have pretty good products coming out of them.
Mhm.
And that's actually bringing a lot of Indians who settle over there. They try to stay connected and try to move some of the business here.
Yes.
Because they know that they are able to do things here.
Right,
in
right.
technology area specifically. So business-wise, specifically in the technology field, it's good. Manufacturing, we didn't scale as much we could have. I mean, we could have done better.
In terms of manufacturing.
Yeah. Any manufacturing, in general manufacturing industries, we could have done much better.
Sure. Lots of
the
challenges
process,
to that. Yeah.
The quality levels could be much better. Probably, the tolerance are much higher for us. So we try to, say, okay, this is fine. Probably that it's changing a bit because we've seen a lot of industries coming over the last 15, 20 years, and that's changing.
Okay.
So US, in terms of a business and in terms of a business relationship, is pretty good.
Right.
I think politically also, two good things is both are democratic countries. I think that relationship is like, probably independent, like US has its own kind of style of independence, India has its own style of independence.
Of course.
And I think it's getting along well. Probably many years back we would have thought we're not so friendly, but then but then I think over the last 2 decades I would see it's like
become more friendly.
More friendly and we see more connect because people to people connect is good.
Right.
Political system is good. Business connect is good. And I think the business opportunity for either side is good. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's a consumer state
yes.
anyway, right? We are, having 40% or 30% of the world's population is the biggest consumers in the industry.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So that, and I think with the peace lovers.
Peace lovers. Yes. Yes.
So I think it's that's the way I would look at it.
Okay.
The relationship is more stable, I guess, at this point.
Okay. Do you know who? Do you know anything about the presidential election? I mean,
I've been
like
following
Donald
up.
Trump and Hillary Clinton and.
I
do you
believe.
have a thought on that?
Most of us think Clinton would be a good way.
Okay. Okay. So Donald Trump. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump? Any thoughts?
I think Donald Trump, though he says that, probably he will not be able to do many of those things what he says. I've seen that in the past. Reagans and other things trying to do the same thing, but I've seen them not doing that at all.
Yes.
It's just during the elections what they say and
They're politicians.
Yeah, but then there's a business lobby always, which works the way. So I believe Clinton has a better chance. At least to me, it looks like that, and probably. But we can never say what happened in the rest of Europe. The elections and kind of things. The surprises we had there. In UK specifically, on the Brixton.
Yes,
and things.
exactly. Yes.
We could see if there could be a surprise from people.
Yeah, you never know. Yes, exactly. Yes.
But
it could happen.
I think probably Hillary, being a lady and the first lady president, it could be good.
Yes.
It's nice. It's good for an American. Because should have a lady.
Well, I think so. It's time. India has had a female. Is it prime minister?
Prime minister.
Yes.
Yeah. And president also.
Yes. So they're ahead of us on that. Yeah.
So it's time for you guys to have one.
Yeah, I agree.
Probably. Donald Trump, though he was hard on the business side, but I think he's softer on the other side when you look at it. He has his own way of. His outlook is different. Of course, he wants to do it for Native Americans a lot and kind of things. But then in a business world, does that really work? In an ecosystem that we live today, where you have to exchange a lot of things, probably may not work.
Probably not. Yes. Okay. Well, those are my questions.